Joining us now to discuss Bitcoin price is Craig Erlam, Senior Market Analyst at FX Services firm Oanda. Hello there, Craig. So a very choppy, volatile market right now. And I wonder, what's your price analysis? Are you selling or buying in these markets?
The difficulty right now with Bitcoin is that it's not a Bitcoin story almost that's driving this. This is a broader market story. So ordinarily, you'd be looking at that $30,000 price level, which we haven't come too far from. And you'd be looking at the price action from the last year. We've hit that level more than half a dozen times. And each time it's been very well protected. So ordinarily, you'd be looking at that level and saying, well, this could be a very big level of interest. But then, like I say, it's the broader markets which is driving this. It's broader risk appetite in the markets, and I'm not sure that's done. So I think this $30,000 level is going to be critical in terms of the price action for Bitcoin going forward. I don't think this is going to last forever. I do think it's going to have its day again, and I do think there's going to come a time in the not too distant future when the focus is going to be more on Bitcoin related stories. There were so many positive stories for Bitcoin last year, and they are going to arrive again. But for now, because it's being caught up in the storm that's really happening in the markets right now, then I do think that $30,000 level is going to be really heavily tested potentially in the coming days and weeks.
It's interesting you say that, because many folks say, well, Bitcoin is not correlated with traditional markets, with traditional stocks, and that it moves to its own drumbeat. But we're definitely not seeing that today and over the past weekend. So how do you see Bitcoin correlated with, do you see it structural? Do you see it cyclical? Do you see it correlated to traditional markets?
I think it is correlated to an extent, because I do think it is still a high-risk instrument, and therefore, when you look at other high-risk instruments, the Nasdaq is a clear example of that. It does seem to be quite well aligned to the Nasdaq, more so than other risk assets like the Dow or the S&P. It does seem to be those higher risk tech stocks that seem to be more aligned to Bitcoin. It is something in itself, and I think that is a really important point. So often everyone's trying to align it with something. Bitcoin is this, Bitcoin is that. It's almost trying to give it credibility by comparing it to things like gold. Bitcoin is its own instrument, and other cryptocurrencies are the same. And therefore, I think we need to remember that. But then all of it typically does fall into a risk bracket, and I think that's where we are seeing it being really dragged down by broader markets right now, by the fact that risk appetite has taken such a beating this month. It was inevitable that Bitcoin was going to be dragged down within that. But like I say, at some point, more cryptocurrency, Bitcoin-related stories going to come out. And if it's anything like last year, then there could be a lot of positivity to be had. It's just a case of when those stories are going to appear and how much pain can be suffered in the interim.
What do you see as the floor for Bitcoin? Can we go lower, or do you see it range bound from here on out?
So as I say, $30,000 for me is so critical because it's become such a big psychological area over the last 12 months. Then I think how it holds above here is going to be extremely telling. If it can survive the next week or so, if the market's continuing to be as turbulent as we've seen, if it can survive 30,000 over that week or two, I think that's going to be extremely encouraging, and maybe some of those whales will start to appear again potentially. If that 30,000 breaks, then I think there could be a lot of pain, because I think that's just such a massive floor in price. And as your previous guest alluded to, it's those leverage positions where you can see those levels suddenly become even more critical, and where you can see these positions quickly unwind, and all of a sudden you've got these sharp moves to the downside. You saw a small example of it to an extent at 40,000. Once that fell, the move after that was quite fast. My fear is for something like Bitcoin is that if 30,000 breaks in a similar manner, then the reaction could be sharp to the downside, and then things like 20,000 become extremely key after that. But again, it all really depends on, like I say, how long this storm lasts in the markets. So come Wednesday, say the Federal Reserve sells its position well, keeps the markets on board, stabilizes things in the broader markets, then I think Bitcoin will see the benefit. But if we don't see that this week and we see a broader tech sell-off, maybe Apple reports some dreadful results, Tesla, etc., get caught up in all of this, then I think risk appetite again will take a big hit, and unfortunately for Bitcoin, it will fall alongside it, I think.